What is up, Watch fam? Happy Monday and welcome to Rant TNH. I am Christian from Theo and Harris, and today we're going to be jumping into a very expensive topic, four of the best watches, not the four best definitively, but four of the best watches over $40,000. A lot of money, a lot of great watches to choose from, but I think I chose some really respectable, disgustingly desirable pieces that we should all, at least in our dreams, strive to own. So let's get into it. Before we jump into my four watches, let's do a quick wristwatch check. I am wearing a beautiful Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, reference 14790, I believe, and if that's one number off, I'm a little dyslexic, so I am sorry. But this is a beautiful watch. I've been wearing this regularly for a couple of weeks now, and I've enjoyed the hell out of it. So speaking of the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, it's actually number one on my list of four amazing watches over $40,000. Not just a standard Royal Oak, though. It's going to be a Royal Oak from the 15400 series, but it's especially interesting because it is the open worked variation. So here's a photo of this. I mean, before we jump into the technicality of it, before we get into the details, I mean, this is just an incredible, piece of design. Forget whether you like it or not, but to look at this and say that it's not interesting would just be nuts. I can see how many people think that this is over the top or just too much. It is a 41 millimeter watch, so I can see how this intricate detail might be overwhelming to some people, but still, you can see how much is going on. This is one of the watches I think that would most effectively serve as an example to someone who didn't know or like watches, why watches are interesting and important and why they're so expensive, why they take so much time. Look at this. This entire caliber is hand finished. Typically in watches, even the most expensive watches, the main plate, what's right below the dial, is the least interesting part aesthetically. But with this example, they open worked it. They had to make everything exposed, front and back, so there could be no mundane part of the movement. And because it's an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, the case is on the next level as well. So not only do you have ultimate finishing on a case, but you have this open work double balance movement, which I'll get into in a second, with a gold balance bridge, and the entire color of this dial is this slate-ish, deep gray that I think is just absolutely gorgeous. So yes, it is a grandchild of the Gerald Genta classic Royal Oak. It's not the same watch. It's not the jumbo. It doesn't look exactly like the original references, but I do think that it's a very, very respectable progression, considering now AP has just become a company of great innovation. I don't always love it, and it's always within the Royal Oak model, or almost always within the Royal Oak model, but still, nonetheless, this watch, whether you like it or not, shows some serious supremacy in their field. This watch will run you around $60,000. Who am I to say whether it's worth it or not? I guess that's very subjective, but wow. Okay, so next, let's move into Patek Philippe, the 5575G. This is another blow your mind watch. To me, although I love the open work AP, this is a watch that I would find on my wrist more easily. It falls in below 40 millimeters. It's a world time with a centralized moon phase, which looks like a galaxy. This is one of the most beautiful watches I've ever seen. What I love most kind of about the style here is it's very dramatic, right, in all the things that are going on, but it's done in the most reserved and conservative way. It's a black dial. It's very midnight in effect, and all the busyness that's happening on the dial, even though that's done very well, it's mellowed out by the white gold case, which is, although curved and intricate, still so sleek. There are companies that struggle making watches far simpler than this look this simple. So this is a huge prop to Patek Philippe. Taking the interest in this watch to the next level, it's actually a celebration piece for the 175th anniversary of Patek Philippe. So not only is it one of the most magnificent watches in design, but it's significant to the Patek Philippe brand. If you want to take a look at the movement, here it is. It's a beautiful micro rotor movement. I love that Patek Philippe has become so famous for these micro rotor movements. Their calibers are slim, very finely decorated, not in this modern, really crazy AP style, but in a very classic Swiss way. And I love that the micro rotor allows for the entire movement to be seen and not covered by, a swinging rotor. If you'd like to own this watch, for your consideration, the price is around $100,000. So it's certainly going to, cost you a pretty penny. But if you do have the means, as like Ferris Bueller would say, holy Is it an awesome option? Next, we're going to go into another classic Swiss company. I'm staying very big brand in this episode. I think we may do a separate episode for smaller brands and then another one for vintage, but staying very big brand, the Vacheron Constantin Historiques chronograph, the Cornes de Vache. Wow. I mean, this watch is so true to Vacheron Constantin. It's not a reissue, it's a reimagination or a reimagining of a Vacheron Constantin chronograph from 1955. They reference 6087, I believe. They are very rare watches. They trade at auction houses. They're very, very expensive. But when Vacheron Constantin re-released them with a slightly larger case, coming in still, I think, below 39 millimeters, this just blew collectors away. I mean, this is really what, I don't want to say it's such a blanket statement, but so many avid watch collectors were looking for. It's on a reissue. It's not the same exact watch they produced in 1955. It's a logical evolution of that watch, which shows, at least in my opinion, that Vacheron Constantin, although they've evolved, they still know, recognize, and value their past. Very much so. So this is an incredible watch. This one actually falls below the $40,000 mark. It's somewhere in the 30s, but I think to not bring it up would have been a shame. Okay, next and finally, we're actually going to run away from Switzerland. We're going into Germany in the house of A. Lange & Söhne, one of my favorite manufacturers in the world. We're going to go with the Matic Perpetual in platinum. This is a busy watch. There's no doubt. There's a lot going on, from the big date to the moon phase and all of the instrumentation that goes along with the Perpetual calendar. There's a lot happening. But still, at around $50,000-ish, you're not only getting a top tier watch, particularly in movement construction and architecture, but an incredible narrative, which if you guys follow Theo and Harris, you know how passionate I am about narrative. This is a company that was at the bedrock of the watch world for so many years. They were founded sometime in the 18th century, and they were active until political unrest and all the, not to trivialize, but just the disaster that happened in Europe, particularly Germany, in the 1930s and 40s. They closed shop. I mean, they became, a member with the GUP. I mean, the Lange name was nothing. And if it was anything, it stood for nothing compared to what it used to stand for. This is truly a brand of innovation, horology, I think particularly in pocket watches. So it really is a historical shame that this brand was halted. But then in 1990, Walter Lange, who was the great-grandson of the founder, reinstated A. Lange & Söhne. I mean, 45 years later, he brought them back from the dead. And 5 years after that, they produced their first watch, which is now one of the most famous and well-respected watches of all time, the Lange 1. So, yes, the Lange Matic Perpetual in platinum is an incredible watch. Dollar for dollar, you're getting a perpetual calendar, one of the most highly regarded complications in the world, for 50 grand, which is a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but it is still very competitive. And on top of that, you're getting just one of the best comeback stories, I think, in watch history. So that's it, guys. Those are my 4 picks for today. 3 from Switzerland, 1 from Germany, of my favorite watches over $40,000. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the T&H YouTube channel right below and check out our selection of vintage watches at the Watch Shop at theoandharris.com. See you guys tomorrow.